Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And yes, it's all about the coronavirus, I'm afraid, but look, that is kind of global news with the pandemic. And I got a lengthy email from Philippe, but it's one that I want to put on the record because he gives some really solid, good advice on the do's and don'ts with the coronavirus. So please, if you got the time, this might take 5 to 10 minutes, please sit down and listen carefully, because he's going to name names, he's going to talk about drugs, he's going to say what you should and shouldn't do. Okay, so let's start. Hi Scott, Nurofen, ibuprofen, brufen should be avoided. Paracetamol is safe so far. Self-medication should be checked with a pharmacist or doctor. As I explained, even vitamin C can be problematic, as it is an anticoagulant or blood thinner. Sometimes best to stay away from internal medical advice with people. They often don't give you the full background, and they share advice with one another and refer back to you when things go awry. On another note, pulmonary fibrosis has been extensively documented as an after effect of COVID-19. Now, I talked about that yesterday. About 20 to 30% of people who've had the coronavirus are forever basically handicapped with damage to their lungs. So it's serious stuff. Anyway, Philippe says serious stuff, and when extensive and severe, not really curable and very debilitating. Simply put, nature's way to repair lung damage by creating scar tissue or fibrosis. Any viral infections at all carry risk of causing pericarditis, endocarditis, and myocarditis. These are inflammations of heart muscle layers. They can cause lifelong issues that are crippling and in certain circumstances worse. Mostly caused by demanding intensive physical activity when ill or even thereafter. So the real important thing here, guys, if you're not feeling well, lie down and relax, because what you've got a serious risk of doing if you start digging a hole in the garden or something like that is putting pressure on your heart and being left with damage to your heart for the rest of your life. So this is a critical time just to lie back and relax. Anyway, Philippe continues, I booked my young patients off for 2 to 3 weeks after recovering from a severe bout of flu. From PE, sport at school, or extramural sport, PE being physical education, and advise against running around the house, up and down stairs, etc. Same, if not more so, with adults and middle-aged elderly. No pumping iron at the gym and the like. Illustration of what I'm talking about. Poliomyelitis outbreaks infected many people. Those who kept strict bed rest had the antibodies, often had no after effects. Some of those who did not keep to rest routine presented with serious complications and ended up with braces, wheelchairs, and even in iron lungs. These viruses-induced weaknesses persist to date. COVID-19 targets heart and lung tissue. Anyone presenting with any viral infection would do well to respect the potential after effects and manage physical exertion in themselves, children, and elderly, as I suggested above, i.e., just relax, sit back, take it easy, don't do anything physical. I have not had any patients presenting with cardiac complications resulting from viral infections, ever, keeping to the above routines. And rocket science. One of the more serious issues with the virus is that it's caused a cytokine storm. There are pro- and anti-inflammatory interleukins, and then TNFs. Some have been identified as beneficial to the management of the COVID-19 infection. Others are bad news. We in biomedicine actually actively select those from these substances, as we have access to them pharmacologically. Many are selectively available from pharmaceutical companies, and we use them to good effect. In Scotland, our surgery is the only one supplied by the pharmaceutical wholesalers. There was a senior consultant physician in Edinburgh who also used them but has since retired. In the rest of the UK, very few are trained in their use, and most NHS trusts do not offer them at all as a prescription option. Our Harley Street London surgery dispenses quite a bit of these cytokines, and we are, by the looks of it and patient feedback, one of the very few. It can be a very tricky therapeutic tool. We learned about this stuff when in medical training, but many of us never got down to putting it into effective use when in practice, and then forgot. The tourism and hospitality industry in the UK is about to take a serious nosedive. Pubs, restaurants, hotels and the like are about to be closed, possibly for 2 months. In Scotland, where tourism is a major employer, this is going to bite deep. I doubt that the full mooted 2 months will come about in full. Lockdown worked in China once they got the hang of things. Those guys wrote the book on the management of the outbreak and did it brilliantly. Looks like we may have left things too long and maybe too late. We could have copied the Chinese model and learned from them, including and particularly how to crank out and run 14 or more fully operational temporary 1,000-bed hospitals in a week. We cannot provide adequate facilities with what we have. The NHS is really overstretched as it is. Without the niceties of COVID-19, huge bed shortages has been at the order of the day for months and months already. The infighting and ego massage sessions of our academics in public are the stuff of sitcoms. Too much ego and not enough brains. To invite Chinese experts to run things here for a tad, even if it means saving countless lives and the economy. Too much ego and not enough brains to fill a thimble. The contradictory recommendations doled out daily in the media, particularly television, are amazing. Medical academics are even publicly tearing into each other over politically on TV and won't be silenced. Nuts. They are now mooting that they will chuck billions of pounds at businesses and people. Not sure where that is going to come from. They reckon that the country is broke. The EU have closed pretty much all borders between the no open border countries, even to each other's citizens. So much for the lofty freedom of movement of people and commerce between EU countries. Hard borders between neighbours, overnight. Trucks backed up at now closed and hard border posts. No transport allowed of tons of fish and lobster and crayfish caught by Scottish fishermen for export to Spain and France. And this means that general logistics in the EU is now suspended. Thousands of these sea animals, what a waste and a tragedy, if they're destroyed. But no restaurants and hospitality industry open in France and Spain either. We have patients going to Norway on oil business who are now locked up for 2 weeks on arrival, on full pay. Oil rigs and ships locked down. Helicopter ferry trips suspended. Cruise rotation delayed for a month. We have to reschedule ops and procedures on a daily basis. Medicine deliveries are delayed by weeks, some indefinitely. Toilet paper shortages are at critical levels, but we at our surgeries are okay. Empty shelves are all over the place at supermarkets, even fresh produce and daily baked bread. Zombie land has arrived. We are now supplying patients with basic medication in Denmark. They seem to have run out of a lot of the meds, and pharmacies are not being resupplied. Result of the moratorium on free EU cross-border road transports. General media induced panic buying, crazy, and this did not happen and was not seen during the actually worse bird flu, swine flu, Zika, SARS and MERS outbreaks. And victim numbers are quite low, much lower than the normal seasonal flu outbreaks. Sadly, the authorities and experts are mostly empty waffle, trying to score points, contradict each other at every turn, and have a royal academic pissing contest on TV. Geeta and I just carry on fixing people. We have always applied and maintained high infection prevention and control standards and keep these going as usual. Non-essential patient visits and services are reduced, and we thoroughly screen patients before admitting them into the clinic. We do not accept new ones for elective procedures until further notice. We get a lot of calls for advice from parents re-school-going children. We have seen very few, if any, children with bacterial viral infections. This is a good barometer for the general situation here, as a lot, if not most of the NHS clinics are totally overwhelmed, and even telephone consults are at a premium. One would expect a lot of overflow to our private surgeries, but patients asking for appointments are not presenting with a typical COVID-19 spectrum. As a rule, this may yet change, but it is nowhere near what we saw with the above-mentioned outbreaks. He's talking about bird flu and SARS, etc. So far, an update from sunny Scotland. We may yet button up, enjoy the coffee in our spring garden. We live next to the beautiful forest and can go for walks to our heart's content. No crowds there to worry about, and we don't eat squirrels, hedgehogs and moles. No risk there. Sadly, little Shredder won't be by our side. After 18 years with us, he called the end of the watch. Remember Shredder used to go and sit next to Philippe last year? That old cat, that beautiful little old cat. I miss that guy more than I can say. He was a treasure from day one when we collected him as a pup in Vryheid, Natal. He stood his ground with the big dogs we had, and actually once stared down a green mamba we found in the house. What a guy. He now has his little corner in our garden, which gets the most sun. The house and our lives are much emptier without him, and his absence hurts both of us every day. I hope that somehow he sits on my shoulder and reads this and takes comfort. That's it. Breakfast coffee break is over. I must go and hurt some more people. Being a doctor. And he signs off, best Philippe. Thanks, Philippe. All right, guys, there's some good common sense ideas for you and an update of what's happening in the UK. Alrighty, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.